Most people think sharper thinking comes from being naturally smart. But let me ask you, if IQ was all it took, why do so many smart people make dumb choices every day? Here's the contrarian truth. Intelligence helps, sure, but the real separator isn't IQ, it's clarity. And clarity doesn't come from knowing more. It comes from slowing down before you decide what you believe. So why don't most people do that? Because the human brain runs on shortcuts. Psychologists call them cognitive biases. Biases are like mental autopilot. Helpful for survival, terrible for clear thinking. They make you overestimate what you know, underestimate what you don't, and jump to conclusions way too fast. But here's the bigger question. If biases are built in, can you ever escape them? The answer is yes. But only if you flip the script with one move most people never use. Before you accept any thought, idea, or opinion as truth, ask yourself, what evidence would prove me wrong? Why does that single question matter so much? Because most people don't ask it. They only look for information that supports what they already believe. That's confirmation bias. It's comfortable. It feels safe, but it keeps you blind. The moment you deliberately search for disproof, your brain switches gears. Instead of defending assumptions, it starts testing them. And that shift, from defense to testing, is where sharper thinking lives. Let's put this into real life. You think your boss doesn't like you. The usual story, every short email, every neutral expression, every missed hello becomes proof. But ask, what evidence would prove me wrong? Suddenly the door opens. Positive feedback, more responsibility, that would disprove the story. You're not spiraling anymore. You're testing reality. Or money. You believe investing is too risky. Old pattern. You only notice headlines about crashes and losses. New pattern. Ask, what evidence would prove me wrong? Like data showing long-term investors almost always come out ahead. Now you're not stuck in fear. You're sharpening perspective. Even relationships. You think your partner never listens. Old pattern. You zero in on every distraction. New pattern. Ask, what evidence would prove me wrong? Like the times they followed up, remembered details, supported you when it counted. Now, you're grounded in reality, not bias. Why does this work? Because your brain craves certainty and hates doubt. That's why first impressions stick like glue. But sharp thinking requires discomfort. By asking what would disprove you, you force your brain into that discomfort. And that's where clarity finally appears. There's another layer. This trick protects you from manipulation. Advertisers, politicians, influencers, they all rely on your autopilot brain. They feed you what you already believe, so you nod along. But when you pause and ask, what would prove this wrong? You cut through the bait. You stop being an easy target. So, how do you actually build this habit? Here's a practical move. The 2-column test. Next time you're certain about something, write it down. On the left, evidence supporting your belief. On the right, evidence that would disprove it. Even if the right column starts empty, the act of looking forces your brain to stretch. That single exercise moves you into sharper thinking territory most people never enter. And here's the twist. This doesn't make you indecisive. It makes you precise. People think sharper means faster. In reality, sharper means cleaner. You're cutting through noise, not adding to it. Research backs this up. Studies on critical thinking show that people who train themselves to consider disconfirming evidence make better choices, avoid costly mistakes, and resist manipulation. They're not smarter in the traditional sense. They're just less blinded by bias. So, let me ask you, do you really want to outthink 99% of people? Then stop trying to memorize more facts or win more arguments. Forget about being the smartest person in the room. Build the habit of asking one question before you lock onto a belief. What evidence would prove me wrong? That one habit is the separator. It clears your mind when everyone else is stuck defending their stories. Over time, it compounds. You stop reacting. You stop assuming. You start seeing reality more clearly than almost anyone around you. Because thinking sharper isn't about knowing more. It's about filtering better. One question does that. Use it, and you'll think cleaner, faster, and with more depth than almost everyone you know. If you're still watching, hit like and subscribe. It'd be appreciated.